Thank you very much, Lash Cairncála. Taoiseach, first of all, Taoiseach, I'm not going to play a playing game. I want to help with solutions. I want to help young families get homes. Today, I want to raise with you the very important issue of mortgage affordability, particularly for the first-time buyers. As we all know, this country is in the midst of a housing crisis. Yes, there is doubt that the main issue is supply of affordable housing stock. But Taoiseach, another issue that can be addressed immediately is that of the very restrictive lending rules imposed by the central bank. In my hometown of Dundalk, rents for a 3-bedroom family home can be anything from €1,300 to €1,800 per month. Those same houses are generally on the market from sale price of from €200,000 to €270,000. So if we do a quick calculation, the average mortgage repayment on these homes will be between €900 and €1,200 per month. Under the present rules, a young family is expected to save around €2,000 per month towards the deposit, as well as pay rent of up to €1,800 in order to satisfy central bank rules. Taoiseach, I think you will agree with me when I say that this is simply not realistic. The bottom line is that if a young family can't afford and demonstrate that they are paying rent at a higher level than the comparative mortgage, then it is clear that they can't afford that mortgage. A simple solution would, if the rules were amended, to allow first-time buyers use the rent paid, say for a period of 3 years, prior to the mortgage application as a form of a virtual deposit. This would clearly demonstrate their ability to repay a mortgage and remove the draconian rules where they have to save for a deposit, but at the same time pay a ridiculous high rent at the same time. Taoiseach, it doesn't add up and it doesn't make sense. If we look at the figures again for my hometown in Dundalk, a young family looking to purchase their first home are commonly looking at saving an average of €2,000 per month, as well as paying rent of around €1,500. For those two amounts alone, this is €3,500 per month. In order to save this, the couple would need a gross income of at least €5,500 per month. In other words, a gross annual salary of €66,000 just to pay the monthly rent and save for the deposit. And this does not take account of other outgoings like food, utility bills and medical bills. Taoiseach, it is clear that this is simply not a realistic situation for young first-time buyers in Ireland. At this rate, they will be condemned to a lifetime of paying high rents, most likely to budget funds. Taoiseach, your government must act now to deal with this very, very serious issue. Taoiseach, people should be allowed to buy their first-time home. And as I said, to earn €66,000, you're talking about maybe 2 people working. And I think, Sonia, you're looking for solutions. I'm not here to play a playing game. So I'm just simply saying here, would you consider the virtual deposit? Thank you.
Thanks very much, Deputy. And I think you make some very good points in your remarks. As the House will be aware, the objective of the Central Bank macroprudential mortgage lending rules is to mitigate systemic risk and promote financial stability, to increase the resilience of the banking sector and households to the property market, and to reduce the risk of credit spirals from developing in future. They're there to avoid a boom and bust in home values, avoid people ending up in negative equity again, or more people ending up in negative equity, there to avoid a future banking crisis. They're there to prevent the mistakes of the past being repeated. However, I think we need to make sure that we're not fighting the last war when it comes to mortgages. And the mortgage rules have very much helped to keep a lid on house price inflation, and that's a good thing, but they've also driven up rents, and that's not a good thing. And like the Deputy, I would know a lot of people, and a lot of people have contacted me who are paying very high rents, maybe €1,800 a month, struggling to pay them, but managing to pay them, and yet they cannot get a mortgage for €1,500. They cannot get a mortgage for a lower amount than they're currently spending in rent, and they find that difficult to accept, as do I. And with this in mind, the Central Bank has indicated that it will carry out an in-depth review of lending rules over the course of this year and into next year, and I'd encourage them to get that done and to expedite it as soon as possible, to carry out a public consultation as they intend to do, and to hear the voices of people who are caught in the rent trap in this way, paying a higher rent than they would pay if they were able to get a mortgage that they could afford. In assessing a borrower's ability to repay a mortgage, lenders can and do take account of the applicant's existing financial commitments and their rental payments. However, there is a significant difference between a rental contract and a mortgage contract to purchase a home, and this needs to be borne in mind as well. a house purchase and associated mortgage contract usually has a more long-term character than a rental contract. So that will leave the house purchaser mortgage borrower more exposed if there's a future shock to their income, house prices or interest rates for a longer period of time. The central bank mortgage macroprudential measures apply certain loan-to-value and loan-to-income restrictions to the residential mortgage lending by financial institutions. In general, the maximum mortgage limits are 3.5 times the borrower's income, and for first-time buyers, 90% of the value of the residential property. For second and subsequent buyers, the maximum mortgage limits are 3.5 times the borrower's income and 80% of the value of the home. However, banks have some flexibility at their discretion to provide mortgage loans in excess of the specified regulatory limits, but that is a commercial matter for each lender as to whether they avail of the discretion or not. So, for example, up to 5% of lending to first-time buyers can be above the 90% threshold, and up to 20% of lending to second-time borrowers can exceed the 80% threshold, and up to 20% of lending to first-time buyers can exceed 3.5 times limit in terms of income.
Deputy Fitzpatrick.
Taoiseach, this year, next year, all we're basically doing, Taoiseach, we're just passing the buck. These young people need hope. There is houses out there, I know my home tenant in Dog, for 200,000 and 270,000. These people are working, they're putting their whole life on hold to have their family home. Like, I'm not going to start like Sinn Féin and start blaming game at the moment. You've asked for a solution, I'm giving a solution. I'm just looking for commitment from this government to help these families get their homes. They come into my constituency office, young families there working morning, noon and night, doing shift work. And, you know, these are the working class people. Taoiseach, these are the people that gets up in the morning and goes to work, as you said from day one. I'm saying, wait, these people just need help. What am I going to go back and say to them? No. Like, they can afford to pay the rent, but they can't afford to gather the money for the mortgage. But they can show that they can pay back the mortgage. So I'm just saying simply, Taoiseach, get your government, get a commitment. Sit down with the central bank, put a bit of pressure on them at the moment. These people are stuck in the middle. They can't go on the council list because they earn too much. And realistically, they're going for houses that a lot of work has to be done. And it's their family, it's their friends, and that's going to give them a hand. They want something to start. So Taoiseach, please don't tell me next year or the year after. I'm just looking for commitment, Taoiseach. Please, will the government consider this virtual deposit to help these families, get the deposit or get on the ladder for the first time? Thank you.
To respond.
Thanks, Deputy. I hear you, and I'm sympathetic with what you have to say, that there are lots of people who are paying, as I said earlier, maybe €1,800 in rent, maybe €2,000 in rent a month, and could afford a mortgage of $1,500, and would be better off if they could get a mortgage of $1,500, but they can't. And I hear what you're saying, and I hear that from people all the time. But I'm not passing the buck and saying that the central bank is independent. It is independent, and it's also independent for good reasons. Setting interest rates independent of the political process, putting in place macroprudential rules to avoid a repeat of the mistakes of the past, a housing bubble, which of course we all want to avoid in this House. But the central bank does have an engagement with government, regularly the Minister for Finance. I met the central bank governor about this matter years ago in my previous role as Taoiseach. They are now carrying out a review of the mortgage rules. I'm asking that they do that expeditiously, do it properly, do it well, but do it as quickly as possible. And I think it's very welcome that they're having a public consultation, and I hope that people who are trapped in this situation will take part in that public consultation, and the central bank will hear the voice of people in that regard. They have a role, a major role, in ensuring financial stability and making sure that we don't repeat the mistakes of the past. But they can't be blind either to the unintended consequences, which may be rents going as high as they have gone, and people feeling that they'll never be able to buy a home of their own.